Since last episode was pretty rough, we're gonna start this one off by getting some Jesus. Prayer, and more importantly protection prayers, are going to be important for both Old School and RS3, but they're completely game-changing for Old School. In RS3, protection prayer is half your damage taken from the correct source, but in Old School, 100% of the damage is negated, making it all but required for late game content. We're going to be approaching the early levels of prayer very differently between the accounts. In Old School, we can go straight to level 28 via the Holy Grail quest, which requires the Merlin's Crystal quest to be completed to start. Merlin's Crystal has a mini-boss fight, which is kind of annoying to do at level 1 defense with only cakes, but it's pretty easily doable. The Holy Grail has an extremely annoying mini-boss fight with the Black Knight Titan, who has incredibly high magic and range defenses and has to be finished off with Excalibur. We already did that. After this fight though, it's pretty much smooth sailing to our bonus of 11,000 prayer XP and 15,300 defense XP. While I was completing these quests on the Old School account, I was doing the Nexus quote-unquote mini-game in RS3. This mini-game was released in 2013 and made free-to-play in 2015, and exactly no one does it, so I had to do it extremely inefficiently. Basically what's supposed to happen is 4 people feed corruption from the center grabby hands pit into some cute little bowls hung up on some trees. If the 4 people are all feeding corruption into different colored bowls, then the streams coming off the bowls all turn orange and go away. Once you do that 4 times, the center grabby hands man pops up like,
"Hey, stop putting Sunny D on my head, man!"
and you take his bones, then bury them for a sizable chunk of XP. Since I had exactly one person to do this with, being me, I just transferred corruption from the center of the pit to the bowls, resulting in slow but 90% AFK experience up to level 40. At this point, neither account has all of the protection prayers unlocked, but to get them on either account, we need a way to gain XP more efficiently. This is where Mauritania comes in. Unlocking Mauritania is slightly different from game to game, with the main difference being the need to get 50 Rune Essence for Priest in Peril. In Old School, this means that I will have to complete Rune Mysteries, but in RS3, the Rune Essence mine is open as soon as you start a new account. Because of this, Rune Mysteries is not a soft requirement in RS3, which is convenient because they reworked the quest back in 2012 and it takes a lot longer. Unfortunately for the RS3 account, there has to be a drawback somewhere, and that drawback is this dude right here. In RS3, these mages actually use real magic instead of trying to use the unreleased punch things until they die spellbook. Since they actually make an effort to kill me in RS3 and my best damage dealing weapon is dual wielding bronze swords, I have to prepare to kill a single Zamorakian mage like it's a boss fight. After using up most of my prayer points and like 15 cakes, the mage went down and I received the golden key, allowing the RS3 account to progress, finishing the quest at just about the same time as the Old School account. Now that we're able to take our first steps into Mauritania, oh, wait a second, gotta talk to freaking Drazel. Now that we're able to take our first steps into Mauritania, we're gonna clear out our bank, never use it again, and train agility for 15 hours on a broken bridge. No, but seriously, as little as people enjoy coming to Mauritania, this place is absolutely loaded with content. The piece of content that we'll be looking at right away is the Ectofunctus, which I'm just now learning as I write the script is not the Ectofunctus, and is how we'll be quadrupling our prayer XP per bone. In RS3, we get exactly 37,224 XP from the Nexus, resulting in us needing 219 big bones for the Ectofunctus to unlock Protect from Melee at level 43. Hill Giants are fairly easy to kill, and they give you big bones, so I just killed them for a while in Edgeville Dungeon. Once I was done gathering bones, I just got to grinding them all up. In Old School, we encounter a problem. I was genuinely planning to do all the prayer training I needed via the Ectofunctus in both games, but that was before I did the calculations and realized that I would be needing to gather 656 big bones to hit level 43 in Old School. The amounts of time and resources that it would take to get 656 big bones alone would put the Old School account way behind the RS3 account in terms of progress, and that's not even considering the much slower stamina regeneration during Ectofunctus runs. This is also not considering that I've already had to play the Old School account for several hours more than the RS3 account to have it keep up. Because of this, the Ectofuntus is essentially off the table for the Old School account. Luckily, Old School has an even better method for training prayer in the Wilderness Chaos Altar. Each bone offered at this altar gives 3.5 times the regular XP for the offered bone, but also has a 50% chance of not being used up, resulting in an effective experience rate of 7 times the normal rate for burying them. I decided to stick with big bones as they're extremely easy to get a hold of from hill giants, and I would need to be grinding out fire giants anyways for the rune scimitar I got requirements for in last episode. Killing fire giants turned out to be a problem in and of itself, as the normal method is to safe spot them in the waterfall dungeon with a bone crossbow, and my range level is that. Because I really didn't feel like doing more questing at this point, I started leveling thieving more by pickpocketing warrior women and arty until I hit about 10k gold, dumping the money on runes, and hoping for the best during my waterfall dungeon trips. I had to do that a few times, so my thieving is just a little bit higher in Old School now than it is in RS3. I don't see this much as the Old School account getting progress that the RS3 account isn't, as it's mainly just to get cash, and the RS3 account has plenty of ways to get cash without thieving for now. We'll get into how the RS3 account is going to be getting its cash later. One additional perk of killing giants that I didn't even think about at the time was a drop unique to Old School, being Ensouled Heads. One Ensouled Giant Head gives 650 prayer experience, but it does have the additional requirements of 37 magic and 60% favor with House Arceus. The heads aren't the most common drops in the world, but at Wilderness Chaos Altar, one big bone has a theoretical value of just over 100 XP, so every time I got a giant head, I was saving myself about 6 kills. 37 magic was also a non-issue as I was maging the fire giants and ended up hitting level 47 before I finally got it. Oh, I got it. That took so long. From this point on, the rest of the big bones grind is free. With a rune scimitar, hill giants are easy to bring down. I actually ended up getting 2 of the hill giant boss keys, which could be significantly more doable with protect from melee. I assume he uses melee, I've never done it before. After gathering a bit over 200 bones and 15 ensouled heads, I set out to Karen to revive the heads. I had to make more money to buy soul runes because they're expensive as hell, but they were well worth the XP, bringing in nearly 10,000 XP. At this point, RS3's Ectofuntus grind had been over for a little while, but it was now behind the Old School account in a way. The Old School account has access to a tier 40 weapon in the Rune Scimitar. In order to catch up in RS3, we need to get an adamant weapon. However, this isn't as easy as just killing a certain monster until it drops an adamant two-hand anymore. In RS3, mining and smithing were both reworked in order to make them less insufferable. I'm gonna come out and say it now, and you guys can say easy-scape all you want. RS3 has created methods that make a ton of unbearable skills bearable. They still haven't touched this piece of garbage, they could at least delete it from the game. With the full mining and smithing rework, there are new smithable weapons and armor all the way up to tier 90, and the scaling isn't horrible anymore. No more making rune plate bodies at level 99. Rune is now unlocked at level 50. But that's not the point of this. The point is, along with the mining and smithing rework, all smithable weapons and armor were removed from every single loot pool in the game, replacing them with salvage that has the same high alchemy values as the weapons and armor once had. What this all boils down to is I have a lot of mining to do. To get a head start on smithing, we're of course going to be doing the Knight Sword quest, because the similarity between RS3 and Old School that stands out the most isn't the map or the characters, it's the busted ass quest rewards. This quest has a hard requirement of 10 mining and soft requirements of 10 smithing and cooking, as you need to have 2 iron bars and a red berry pie. The end of quest reward XP got me up to level 31 smithing, so I was able to completely bypass smithing steel and go on to mithril. At 40 mining, I unlocked adamant ore and a new ore called luminite, which is essentially the coal replacement for both adamant and rune smithing. At this point, I had finally unlocked my tier 40 weapon, an adamant two-hander plus 2. While all this was going on, I was running my big bones to the Wilderness Chaos Altar with surprisingly few issues. I was only PK'd twice, and both times the PKer left them all on the ground because, you know, they're big bones. My dude's individual inventory slots were worth more than my entire stack of bones. Since I was hardly bothered at all, I hit 43 prayer pretty easily. I'm sorry that's like anticlimactic, but that's just how it was. This leaves only a few blank spots in the whole of combat. For both accounts, we're missing ranged, herblore, and decent food, and on RS3 we're missing summoning. The food situation is fairly easy to solve, it just takes a long time, so we won't be dealing with that this episode, but having a plan for herb lore and summoning is going to be a big deal for both of these accounts. Summoning is going to hit the RS3 account where it hasn't been hit yet, right in the cash stack. Summoning gets obscenely expensive the longer the game goes on, so while I can't necessarily push it under the rug just yet, I can get started on it with Wolf Whistle. The quest is extremely simple and nothing really happens, so I'm just going to skip over it and say I'm level 4 summoning. Because summoning is so expensive, we need to look into a way to get money, and luckily our method is also going to be great for getting herbs, and it works in both games. At level 15 Slayer, we unlock the ability to kill Banshees, which have just about a 1 in 4 drop rate for herbs. In addition to this, in RS3 there are Slayer contracts, which are separate from Slayer tasks and reward a choice of either experience in a combat skill or cash after completing them. The best part is we always get to choose what monster we slay and how many. Every 160 Banshee kills, we will have obtained approximately 40 herbs and 39,000 gold. And with that done, we've effectively solved early game combat. The only thing left to do from a combat standpoint is to level range and to get a better food source. Next time on Interlocked, we'll be solving those issues and going underground for a while. Hey guys, if you're watching this after episode 3 is out, you can move on to the next episode because what I'm about to say doesn't matter for you. If you're watching this near the release of this episode, I'll be away from home for this coming weekend, which means no desktop. I'll still have my laptop, so I'll try to get a little bit of progress done on the accounts, but no promises, so episode 3 is probably going to take a little bit longer than a week to come out. If you want updates, just check my Discord. I'll put it in the description if I remember to not do it dumb. Also, I do apologize for the quality of some of these edits. I know it's only been one episode in, and I haven't necessarily set a standard yet, but some of the edits in this video just weren't up to my personal standards, but I just didn't really have time to fix them because I wanted to get episodes out once a week. Next episode, I will focus on making those edits better, even if it takes longer than a week, because I want this series to be good. But outside of that, thanks for watching, guys.